Namaste. We will see what is Sharada Parashar in this briefly in this slide. I am Sainath Shanpa, Chief Technology Officer of Shardula AI. Now, what is the output of Sharada Parashar level 1? What you see in the background, a turtle and a flower. These are the images that can be coded using a programming language. So the main idea is to get one specific concept of a Sharda Sanskrit programming languages, which is related to space. Now, once the level 1 is completed, one can use the various images and collaborate with participants across the world to create images like this. For example, on the left, the image, what you see, was created by Pallavi Tosharji. She is a lecturer in an engineering college for computer applications. And this was created, this Parashar temple, which is in Himalayas, based on which this Sharda Parashar was named. This is a temple created by Pallaviji. And what you see on the right is a boat created by me and a boy, Shriyansh, who is 12 years old. Now, how does the code look like? Now, this is how the code looks like with comments. So the comments and the variable name can be in any language. So what you see here, the double hash refers to the comments. And this specific code shows concepts like self-similarity, scale invariance, etc., self-symmetry, etc. And this code was written by Mandarji from Vagyajna Kulam. He is a general manager at Vagyajna Kulam. And this is 100 expressions of Bhalukaha in a single code. So once this code is run multiple times, each time the teddy bear gives a different expression. So what is the philosophy and mathematics behind this Sharada Parashar? The basic principles or philosophy is that a coordinate system must match the universe we live in, and it has to be a decentralized system that has stood the test of time, and it should connect with the civilizational idea of coordinate system. So what you see here is the movement of Earth around the Sun. Of course, this is not so much elliptical, but this is to show the idea. And then there are stars. Approximately there are 27 stars that are identified spaced along the ecliptic. Ecliptic is the path of the Sun, Moon, and all the planets through east to west. Now, as per this, in a circle, like we have 360 degree, 360 divisions. Same way, in an ellipse, we can have more than 360 degrees. We can have any number of divisions, but to exactly match the nature, it has to be 365 degree. And the center, when we say center, Sun is the center or Earth is the center, we don't have that. What we have is the universe, the complete universe itself is taken as a framework. For example, when we have 27 nakshatra system, the nakshatras are very, very far away. And all of that nakshatra system is considered as the framework. And from the point of reference, a Sharda Parashar uses the point of reference from the south, as seen from Agastya. Agastya is a star in the south pole. Now, what is the philosophy and mathematics further? We can see that a same species of fishes is just an example, it can have one code, and different species of fishes can have one code too. Now, how this is done is that controlled variability and randomness is inherent in the language, which enables this. So, what are the thoughts that occupy a coder while he is working with Parashar, specifically with Parashar? So, the thoughts that remain, for example, when a person is coding in C and using pointers, etc., most of the thoughts that initially occupies him is where the memory is placed and what should be the data structure, etc. So in case of Parashara, most of the thoughts that occupy a coder is self-symmetry, self-similarity, randomness, scale invariance. So these are the basic concepts that one gets keeps thinking while programming in Parashar. So what about a code like a demo? So we can have a demo. For example, this is Sharada Parashar live coding. So let me play this. So what you see here is initially there is comments, and this was a video that Sharada Parashar demo I had uploaded on for the Independence Day. In the background there is a rendition of rendering of Vande Mataram, and so this is created by Dave, who is 6-year-old. Shreyansh is 9-year-old, and these are other images created by. So these are some testimonials from professors. Basically, the review, one of the reviews from a product owner of SBG Group, Cisco, is that Sharada Parashar has made a dream come true. It was a great vision once upon a time to have Sanskrit as programming language. So you can take a look at this, and this is very important because this is from someone who has been working in the industry in the software area. So this is something that is important for Sharada Parashar, and that's about it. Now we can get into a discussion with experts and Vakya Kulam. Dhanyavad.
Namaskar. My name is Mandar. I am a general manager at VAG Ernakulam. VAG Ernakulam is a Pune-based Sanskrit language learning and research institute. VAG Ernakulam has collaborated with a company called Shardula AI. Shardula AI offers programming environment in Sanskrit. One of their leading programming environment is called Shardula Parashara. So with this collaboration between VAG Ernakulam and Shardula AI, we have started our venture into what we call Sanskrit artificial intelligence. We would like to present our discussion between a host of panels where we are discussing our venture into Sanskrit artificial intelligence. So in this panel discussion, we have Professor Pallavi Thosar. Professor Pallavi Thosar is a professor of computer science in a eminent college in Pune, engineering college in Pune. Then we have Suchitra Raman. Suchitra is a seasoned programming professional with a wide experience of over 27 years. She has programmed from systems such as AS400 to as recent as Android programming system. Then we have a budding programmer named Vidya Kini. She has a programming experience in Python for about 5 years. Then we have Kiran Vadumare. Kiran comes from a very experienced background of artificial intelligence, machine learning, business intelligence. Suchitra, Vidya and Kiran Mahodaya, all three of them are also budding Sanskrit students. Then on the panel we have the creator himself, creator of Shardula AI, Sainath Shanpak. Next we have on the panel is Dr. Varsha Acharya. Dr. Varsha Acharya is the founder of Vagyajnakulam. She has a PhD in Sanskrit with focus on Natya Shastra, and in her MPhil research she had focused on Paninian grammar. And then we have Vagyajnakulam's Balashala Acharya, Acharya Vinayak. He is a versatile Acharya at Vagyajnakulam who leads our Balashala activities. And then myself, my name is Mandar. By education I am an engineer, mechanical engineer, but recently I have started my journey into Sanskrit. So here we would like to present our panel discussion on ventures in Sanskrit artificial intelligence.
Namaskara. Whenever we refer Sanskrit, always it get associated with the devotional aspect. That seems correct at the surface level. But when we try to look beyond that, we come to know that scientific knowledge is hidden in our old Indic scriptures. Whenever we try to associate Sanskrit and computer, always NLP aspect taken into consideration and how we can convert a Sanskrit text into foreign languages, and that's it. This is a need and a hour that now to stop limiting ourselves using that knowledge and technologies testified and given by our great ancient scholar in their own way. We just need to inculcate that knowledge with new approach. So Sanskrit programming language using the Sharda Parashar is one of the ways where we can use a simple Sanskrit text and basic Indic knowledge and get new technology as AI implemented for drawing pictures with very less number of lines of code, which anyone can enjoy creating it, and it will create a base for adapting the knowledge given in the old scripts. So, namaskar.
Namo Namah Sarvebhya. So I have been introduced into computers since 1997. I've been working, and I worked on various platforms. So when Mandarji initially approached with this, though I always felt that Sanskrit is much a language hidden from the general mass, and I always felt that that should be the language which should be predominantly used. So when Mandarji referred to me, and I did my own research on how Sanskrit can be played about. So what I realized is, through all the years of this programming language, I realized that Sanskrit, in comparison to any other language, is much more structured. There is least ambiguity when it comes to Sanskrit as a programming language. So if I say vrikshat phalam patati, so there is always when I say vrikshat, I always mean that there is a separation involved, where the vriksha is sthiram, and the phalam is the mobile one, which is moving away from the vriksha. So the grammar helps us to, it is structured in such a way, and it really helps to reduce all the ambiguity. So when I'm teaching that same language to a non-living being like a robot or an artificial intelligence system, so I have to put minimal efforts in trying to give them multiple interpretation of the same sentence. So the receiver will know that this is what I am trying to say. There is no second meaning to this particular sentence. And what I have realized that the grammar is so extensively done. So I am assuming at that time our scholar Panini would have thought ahead of time, and probably during his time also, because we have due to the invasion we have minimal access to all those resources. Probably there would have been a scenario where this would have been predominantly used into programming or some kind of a technology, building technologies. And I feel now it becomes our responsibility to stop the Westerners invading our system and bringing it to us in a packaged manner. We need to tell that this is ours, we own it, and now we want to represent it to you. And so thereby we are a good level mass, and we have enough of knowledge from our side, and we can outshine the world. And one last thing I wanted to say, that the other universities in like the University of Toronto, they all have introduced with computer engineering. They have a linguistic department where they have introduced Sanskrit as a language to be learned. So it is time that we do not shy away from our language and accept it, be proud of our heritage and our culture, and not just treat it like a Vaidika bhasha and try to bring it as a Laukika and Maukika bhasha and probably move forward. That is, and thankfully I am associated with Vyag Yagnakulam, and I had this great experience of meeting Mr. Sainath, who is doing such a wonderful job. I'm mesmerized, to be frank, and nobody has done this. I mean, everybody wants to do something, but to move in that direction, it takes some courage, and I really admire and thanks Varsha Mahodaya, and to give us such an opportunity to interact with you, and thank you so much. Namo Namah.
So yeah, we're very grateful to, first of all, very grateful to Sainath ji for having shown this beautiful demo. We've always had a theoretical kind of a concept as to something can be done, as Suchitra ji just put it. We can do it, but how do we do it? From where do we start? These are the questions that keep lingering about, and we keep waiting. So you have started, you have done something, and we can get together and take it much forward, much ahead. And thank you, Varsha ji, for giving insights into Sanskrit so that we can understand this part of Sanskrit to be used as a technology as well. So this has been a learning experience for me, I should say. Very grateful to all of you here. And my views chime in with Pallavi ji and Suchitra ji. We've always thought of Sanskrit as a devotional or something for self-transformation or for the transformation of the masses in the form of shlokas and stotras, never as a technology. As Sainath ji told yesterday, rishis have done so much, and which is very close to AI. It's almost AI. And now we are wondering, how did they do it? What can we do about it? So I think this is an excellent way to take it forward. Thank you so much. Namo Namaha.
You hear me okay? Okay, great. So first of all, thanks a lot, Sainath ji, for such a wonderful demonstration. And it's really great because now we know that a start has been made. We have something based on which we can now build further. Because till this point in time, it was just kind of theoretical speculations, I being one of them. I speak a lot, I have a lot of thoughts about it, but I have not had the opportunity to really do something about it. And from that perspective, the work that you're doing is really phenomenal, and I want to really congratulate you for getting this in this particular shape. Regarding the way I look at Sanskrit with respect to my current work and my professional interest, which is in the field of machine learning and artificial intelligence. When we look at artificial intelligence and we look at the base framework which is used currently, and what kind of output that we get and what are the various dimensions associated with it. One very simple way of putting it across is that there is this natural language, there is the machine which we are trying to kind of teach something, or the machine is trying to learn something, and there is this bridge which we call as a semantic map model, which kind of tries to simplify the natural language in a form that the machine can understand. And the lesser the deviation between the natural language and the intermittent bridge that we are trying to kind of build, which I call a semantic model, the greater is going to be the efficiency with which the machine will learn, and the all the other output associated, in the sense that if you provide for all the exceptions, there is going to be a cumulative multiplier effect, which is going to cause a huge amount of strain on the resource consumption that is going to be required, right? So when you compare it with current status, which is the English language as the backbone for this entire thing, versus Sanskrit language, and if you for a moment step aside and not try to look at Sanskrit from the English lens, right, and do an objective evaluation, I think Sanskrit language will top on all the particular dimensions, all the dimensions that we can use to evaluate the efficiency of the entire system. And the dimensions that come to my mind, and based on which I'm saying this because I've done a bit of a reading on that, is one is how comprehensive is the language. Second is how unambiguous is the language. Third is the framework within which the language operates. How scalable is it? And you have a certain set of words, which are the current set. How easy it is to build new set of words with the same level of accuracy and unambiguity and things like that. And in the entire sense, how efficient or optimal this entire process is. And from, even if you take these 4 dimensions, I think Sanskrit, on a relative comparison, will score much, much higher than any other thing. Now, obviously, there are going to be people who are going to oppose to that with good reasons why they're going to be opposing. But I think it's one thing that the foreigners are learning Sanskrit, probably using it as a base somewhere, some research is happening in a place like NASA or some place, and coming up with an AI system. But look at it this way, right? Sanskrit is in our genes, in the sense that all the natural languages in India has Sanskrit as a base, right? And from that perspective, it is embedded not only in our language, but even in our thought process, in our culture, in our day-to-day things that we do. And from that, if you look at it from that lens, I think for us to learn Sanskrit, it's just that we've been divorced from Sanskrit for a very large time, so it appears to be very complex and effort intensive. But once we get into the the real essence of the language and what it can do, it opens up a completely new world of immense, endless possibilities, and which for some reason we have not been able to tap. And there's a lot to say. I'm just kind of shaping my thought, but in conclusion, what I want to say is that there is a start that Sainath ji has made. We have something now that is going to, I'm sure, fire the imagination of n number of peoples, and kind of try to take it to the next level in our journey to kind of make a efficient system. And just to kind of close out, there is a saying that what has got us here will not take us there. Now, if you just put a temporal sequence to it, right? Now, this English-based AI system has got us here, right? And it is effort intensive. And the only reason I think the large AI companies are able to do this based on the English language framework is because there is a scale at which they operate. They're able to have almost endless resources for churning huge amount of data and use a black box approach to kind of, derive some intelligence. Now, do we have an option or other alternative? No. So given a choice between nothing else and something which is suboptimal, the suboptimal becomes the optimal. But now you put Sanskrit in the equation, then you will have an option to choose between options of suboptimal and optimal. And I think from that perspective, if we are able to go ahead with this, what can be achieved from an AI perspective is going to be much, much higher, much, much more efficient than what we currently have. That's my submission.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you everyone, and especially to Kiranji for giving us such a clarified. It's like something that it takes a lot of thinking to get these kind of thoughts churned out of the mind. So thank you for all of that. So my journey into Sanskrit started much in my childhood days itself. and I was more interested in Shastra. And when we say Sanskrit, there is an inherent ontology associated with it, how we think. So what I have observed is most of the academicians and engineers, when they try to think of Sanskrit, they are using Sanskrit as a language, uh, more of looking at a coding in a specific perspective, and then try to do the same using Sanskrit. But we have inherited a rich ontology. We have inherited a rich tradition in the sense knowledge tradition. So when we use this, that is when we will be able to use the best, get the best out of it. So in Sharda Parashar, that I have done, where I have taken the knowledge from Surya Siddhanta and Parashar's Hora Shastra, and those are those concept basic fundamentals over which I am building and of course I am taking the concepts like self-similarity, scale invariance, which is there in advanced engineering concepts. But if we look at our Sthapatya Veda, etc., this is all a natural thinking. So again, so these are the main things that when we use, we will be able to create something like as Kiranji said, we don't have an advantage of scaling. We have to play with the resource constraints. We have to play with the resource limitations. And when the fundamentals itself are, when we make the fundamentals strong, the mathematics and the philosophy on which this is built, then it allows us to create something like that. So, not sure how much of what I am saying I have been able to do it in a demo. But these are the these are actually the concepts using which Sharda Parashar is built. And I have taken only one aspect, which is called Dikka Desha. So when we say Desha Kala Paristiti, I have just taken the Dik part of it and then I have shown how it can be done. And in the upcoming days, we are going to use AI, where the AI is going to use the Sanskrit and then create its own images. Like now we have seen how Pallavi and several others have created images. Now what we will be doing is we will be having an AI automatically create these images, learn it. Initially, we will go with supervised learning, but I feel that yes, it should be as well be able to do unsupervised learning, etc. But that becomes a part of a normal AI that is currently happening. So I don't think I will be putting too much of effort there. I will be just giving an interface of how to do this, and then there are very good folks out there who will be able to do this and take it forward. And in the upcoming days, the idea is to just bring the other concepts, just like the Dik of Surya Siddhanta and the Brihad Parasar Hora Shastra has been introduced. There are so many other Shastras that we can take in different aspects. So that would be the next subsequent projects where we will be working on. Shardulaya will be working on.
Thank you, sir. I would like to add on to Sainath. This was nice explanation, Sainath, that we are using the what is important is, for centuries, it has happened that Shastras are also interpreted by different approach, which is totally sheer Western approach. So by that also, we will get some hurdles in working in the AI system by that approach. So you have done with Surya Siddhanta and Hora Shastra, and you have used information about Dik in your AI. But for further operations, we'll have to be very, very careful about adopting those approaches which are existing just now about different shastras. For example, if we take Ayurveda and we say that some concepts or approaches, for example, Pradnyaparada is the reason behind your disease. This is the principle in Ayurveda. If you take this principle, so practically what is Pradnyaparada is not defined today. So that approach itself is not existing. So to understand that, we'll have to refer a very long, big parampara in Sanskrit, and that should be true by true sense in indigenous approach. So that is possible only by understanding Sanskrit. So I would, that's why we are promoting people to speak and be in Sanskrit and live in Sanskrit, by which it is possible to understand those concepts which are through indigenous approach. Because as Kiranji said, that by which we have come here, we cannot go there by the same tool, you know. So we have come here through English. This AI thing is developed through English, but it is our responsibility, as we have come together as Nimitta Matram. So as we have come together, this is our responsibility that we should follow that strict approach, which is totally indigenous, which we ourselves have not lived till yet till now. And to revive it, we just want a switch, you know, switching our thought process, which you have done already, that you have used all Dik and Nakshatras for your execution. So that was big switch you achieved, and the same switches are to be achieved through learning Sanskrit. So that's why we need Sanskrit by the approach of language. So to get out true meaning out of our Shastra tradition, so whatever the philosophy is, we can use it by indigenous approach for AI. So this would be my addition for today's discussion.
कुछ कहना नहीं था, वैसे सबने वही कह दिया, क्योंकि मेरी धारणा भी वही थी कि संस्कृत के बारे में और जो कुछ भी मैं भी सुनता आ रहा था कि कंप्यूटर पे ये आ सकती है भाषा, क्योंकि मेरी धारणा या समझ ये थी कि इंग्लिश जब पढ़े थे और पढ़ाया जाता है तो वो एक अतार्किक भाषा है, तो अतर्क से अतर्क ही जन्म लेगा, तर्क से तर्क का जन्म होगा। तो संस्कृत अगर वो उसी भाषा में होगा तो सुपर कंप्यूटर और नॉर्मल कंप्यूटर का स्पीड कितना बढ़ेगा, वो तर्क शुद्ध जाएगा। मतलब अगर कुछ कैद में हमेशा मेरे छात्रों को कहता हूँ कि इंग्लिश में देखो ना, आई में आई नहीं और सी में सी नहीं, मतलब ई वाई ई आई में वो आई नहीं है जो मैंने आई बोलता हूँ, वो आई उसमें मिसिंग है। एस डबल ई सी में वो सी नहीं, एबीसीडी का सी। तो इतना अगर कुतर्क है, इतना इलॉजिक है, इलॉजिकल से इलॉजिक ही जन्म लेगा, लॉजिक से लॉजिक जन्म होगा। ये सिंपल लॉजिक नहीं किसी को समझ में आता। तो हमारा ब्रेन इतना इलॉजिकल हो गया, लॉजिकल संस्कृत सीखने के लिए भी बहुत अरे बाप रे, हाउ मच डिफिकल्ट इट इज। अरे ये समस्या भाषा का नहीं है, समस्या आपके ब्रेन, आपका सॉफ्टवेयर का है। क्योंकि न अयम अंधः न अयम स्थानो हो दोषा यदि अंधः न पश्यति, मतलब वो खंबे का दोष नहीं है अगर अंधा उसे नहीं देखता। तो ये संस्कृत का दोष नहीं है अगर आपको वो डिफिकल्ट लगता है, ये आपके सॉफ्टवेयर का ही करप्शन है। क्योंकि इलॉजिकल ही भाषा सीखी है, 1 साल नहीं, फर्स्ट स्टैंडर्ड से 10th स्टैंडर्ड 10-12 साल एक मतलब तपश्चर्या ही इलॉजिकल में की, तो क्या हुआ होगा अंदर, ये समझ के परे है। तो कोई इस तरह से सोचेगा ना। ये करने के लिए साईनाथ को पहले अपना, उन्होंने भी इंग्लिश सीखा हुआ है, इसलिए 10 साल की इतनी तपश्चर्या बाजू में रखो, बाद में संस्कृत की दृष्टि से नए एंगल से सोचो फिर बनाओ, ये सामान्य बात नहीं है। तो ये करने के लिए बहुत ही मेहनत करनी पड़ी, और इसके लिए फिर इसलिए मेरे ब्रेन में लॉजिकली और इलॉजिकल बात बैठती नहीं इंग्लिश की जल्दी से। हाँ, मेरे अच्छा है कि मेरा दिमाग ऐसे ठीक से सुरक्षित है, तो मैं उसके लिए बहुत ही धन्यवाद महसूस करता हूँ। इसलिए कंफर्टेबल हिंदी संस्कृत में होता हूँ। अच्छी बात है। तो मैं ऐसे जब AI और भी ठीक से होगा तो मैं अच्छी तरह से उसमें बहुत बढ़िया काम करूंगा।
नमो नमः।
नमो नमः।